Hi, this is Kelly from The Truth and Story, and I just wanted to quickly do a little card showing because I went through and put the cards in order, and while they're that way, I thought I'd hurry up and do it. So I was going to the pet store today, and because Isabel needed food, I have to feed her. It's just one of those requirements of being a dog owner. And so I was going to the pet store, and I decided right going on my way to going to the pet store is Barnes and Nobles, and I thought I would run in there because I knew they were having a big 50% off sale, and I had gotten a couple little things for my daughter and I the other day, and I thought, oh, I'll just stop in and see if there was anything new that got put into the big bins. And I really didn't find anything, and I was pretty much like, nothing's really there. And then I came across a partial. Now this is missing pieces, but I came across the Mother's Wisdom deck, and it was missing the book, which I've heard that so I'm not going to do a full review on this deck because obviously I can't tell you anything about the book. I've heard that it's actually a really good book, but I had seen Chloe from the Inner Whispers had mentioned this deck in one of her videos. It wasn't a specific review of this deck, but she mentioned it and showed some of the images. And I really like the images that I saw. It's a little bit on the sweet side. Some of the images may be pushing it as being cute, which is not something I'm really looking for in a deck, but some of the images I thought were quite beautiful. And so it was 50% off because it was missing the book. And so I got it for like $9. I want to say originally it's like $17.99. The paper was, everything was off of it. And I did go through and like count the cards to make sure the cards were even all there. But it was missing the book, and so I got it for half off. And I'm like, for $9, to be honest, with Oracle decks, for the most part, I'll read through the books, usually at least once. But after that, for the most part, I don't really always go back to the guidebook. And so for that amount of money, I thought I'm just going to grab it because the cards that I've seen were quite lovely. So, why not? So it did come in a little box like this with one of the card images is on the front of the box. And it's, again, called the Mother's Wisdom deck, and it's by Nikki Dewart and Elizabeth Marglin, and the illustrations are by Jenny Kostecki Shaw. And so it came in that. So again, because I don't have a guidebook, I did right away grab one of these. I have some of these random ones from finding them on clearance. So I did grab one of these and split it off into sections. I did some Googling and found some information on different reviews, a couple review videos, and on their actual website, which I'll put a link to their website in the description box below. And so I was able to come up with the main keywords for each of the cards. And so I do intend to kind of, even though I don't generally do this with all of my decks, I started to, but I don't tend to find that as helpful for me. I'm going to do that for this one because I don't have a guidebook for it. And there are some specific people. So this is a deck that's obviously about motherhood. The name of it is the Mother's Wisdom deck. And it's divided into 4 parts. So I made sections for 4 parts. So it's divided into the natural mother, which are things such as, and we'll go through the cards, but it's things such as lake and moon and pearl and rainbow and star. So they're natural things, occurring things. There's animal mothers, common sense, or different animals type that are, relate to motherhood in some way. And then there are, which I quite like, the ancestral mother, and those are actual historical people that have something else to teach about have something to teach us about motherhood. And then there are divine mothers, and divine mothers are tend to be like goddesses from various cultures. And so I did split off a section for each of those so that I can go through, and then I alphabetized all the cards and put them in their sections. And I thought, okay, while I have them like this, I had best go ahead and do a review. So I'm going to find a sweet spot here. Don't move. Okay, so you'll see the cards are set up exactly as I like cards to be. There's this complete image, and then there's just a bottom with the name of the card. I do wish I saw on, and look, I'm filthy. I just took Belle for a walk, and apparently her line must have been scraping against my finger. I do kind of wish the keyword was on here just because I don't have the book. It would have certainly been helpful because I saw images on their website where they actually did have the card with the image, and I thought that was actually quite nice. So they have keywords such as, like for cave, we have receptivity. Let me pull this over here so I'm not being so awkward. So the cards do have keywords such as like cave for as receptivity. So these, well, let's see, I get ahead of myself because I just get so excited. I found this nice little find. It's 52 cards, and like I said, it's split into four suits, so to speak, or four divisions. And so this first division, and they're color coded. So the first division is blue, and this is natural mothers. So we have cave, which is about receptivity. We have lake, which is about serenity. I hope you can see these. We have moon. The moon, I think I had to kind of guess about. But I think it's about rhythm. Whoops. There were just a couple that I had to really kind of scrounge around to find out what the keywords were. Most of them I was able to find fairly easily. So I think the moon was about rhythm. And I'm not going to go through all the keywords. I just want you to get an idea of what these. So mountain is about presence. And I believe ocean is about source. I think this ocean card, I think, is quite stunning. It's beautiful. Here we have pearl, rainbow was about forgiveness. They are quite, I love this, river, and that was about surrender, because she's just kind of surrendering to the flow of the river, and she looks like she has a lotus blossom in her hand, which I thought was really sweet. They are quite, the drawings are sort of a brightly colored, I want to say simplistic, but not in a negative way. There is a simplicity to them that is quite stunning. We have shell. This is for listening. And technically this is a deck for mothers, and so these could also be attributes that you would, kind of associate with a mother and a child. But I do not find this to be restrictive of the deck whatsoever from what I've looked at it. I mean, these are all energies, these sort of mother energies that I think is quite beautiful. And something that I have been looking for is sort of a divine mother sort of deck. And I have looked at like the Mother Mary deck that I thought was beautiful, but it does focus just on Mary, whereas this has, again, lots of different aspects of motherhood that I think is going to be quite beautiful. Smoke. Let me turn that off. I want to see what smoke is. I can't remember what smoke was. Gratitude. I kind of get something different out of this. I do feel like I'm just going to sort of go off on my own with this one, but I almost have to because I don't have the book. And again, I have heard, from the reviews that I've read, I've heard that the book is actually quite wonderful. This is Star. I think that's the last. No, then we have the Tree of Life, which is beautiful. And we have Wind. I love this. For some reason, this reminds me of, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Bedknobs and Broomsticks. It's an old Disney movie. It has there are no blimps in that, but that's what comes to mind, kind of setting off on an adventure. That just came, and I won't sing the song that came to mind as well, because there are songs, and of course it's Disney. And so then that's the last of the natural mothers. And then we have, now we're into the section of natural mothers, which is kind of a brown bottom. And here we have Bear, and look at, she's like protecting. She's protecting the little child. So sweet. Butterfly, this is one of my least favorites. I mean, it's all right, but Butterfly is about, obviously about transformation. We have Deer, which I think was about gentleness. I mean, they made sense. The keywords, you know, make sense. We have Dolphins, which playfulness comes to mind. To be honest, I'm not positive that that's what it is. I won't keep looking through them all. But there are things such as that, certain natures. Elephant was strength. And I know that in the book itself, they also use shadow aspects, which that would be nice to have, to know what the shadow aspect keyword was as well. But I know, like for elephant, I saw there was strength as the keyword, and then the shadow aspect was hardness. So kind of taking strength too far, you know, can become hardness. And we have horse, hummingbird, lioness. I think it was courage. I really shouldn't say it because I'm probably going to be wrong. Monkey, I know, is trickster. Owl, which is about awareness. Snake. That one's quite interesting because it doesn't show an actual snake. We do have, you know, sort of this feminine figure, and then we have the rattles right here, and so that kind of reminds you. Let's see if I can find it quickly. It's about life force. I think this was one that I wasn't entirely sure that that's the actual keyword on, but I thought that was quite interesting because it kind of gives me the sense of to do or sort of with also a warning, because you do have the rattles there that sort of warn you. But that's just what rattles became. We have swan, which was to do with grace. I love the turtle. I do apologize, Isabel's being loud down there. Then we have the turtle. Then we get into, I really do like this section. So this section is ancestral mothers. So these are actual historical figures. And I was so excited to see this one, and I'm going to slaughter her last name, but it's Artemisia Gentilici, something like that. And I did a class that I took in college was an art history class that I needed in college. And I did a paper, and we had to do a paper on, like, we had to pick a specific, you know, artist or whatever. I don't remember if it was from a certain time period. It was one of the earlier classes, so it was a very long time ago. But we had to write it from the perspective of her. So it was kind of biographical, and she had some very interesting and, you know, hard things happen with her. But we had to write it as like from first person, as if we were the particular artist that we picked, and I did it on her. So I was really excited to see this, and this is one that I didn't find the keyword for, but for me that's certainly about creativity, and also a sense of really knowing yourself and being able to stand up to, you know, at the time it was such a man's world in the art, in the time that she was, it was such a man's world, and yet she, you know, really stood strong and you know, pushed to express her art and to be seen. So I believe she was raped and went through a trial, if I remember correctly. So I get a sense of strength and creativity from this particular card. I was so excited to see that card. No, I'm not going to be able to read them backwards. This is Curandera. See, some of these I don't know. I'm going to look up, and that's one of the reasons I did set up the journal, is because this section and the next section of Divine Mother are actual goddesses, so I will want to look up on each of these people and find out who they are. But I was able to find most of the keywords after this, and so I know she was as a healer, and you can see that she's actually healing a little child who maybe hurt his arm or something like that. So we have healer. Okay, the next card that we have is Lady Godiva, and this is one that I don't really agree with the keyword. The keyword for this is humility. And I really don't quite agree with that because I think that, so in the story of Lady Godiva, and she was an actual historical figure, there are certainly people who are historians that would argue that that the ride, the famous ride, never really took place, but it's become, but as all things, it's become part of her legend, regardless of that or not. But there were people that were suffering greatly in her town, and her husband, who wouldn't lower the taxes, and the people were under so much enormous amount of pressure and were poverty stricken, and it was just in a very bad state. Her husband promised to lower the taxes if she would ride through the streets of town clothed in nothing but her hair. And so she does so, and she tells everybody to, close the windows, go inside, respect her, and not, to not look. I think there's one that doesn't listen, and there's kind of talks about him maybe getting struck blind. Can't remember. There was one person I think that in the story, in versions of the story, that does look. But so she rides through towns, and then her son. So then she rides through the town and naked, and then her husband. Does end up lowering the taxes and gives relief to the people in the city. But the problem I have with this in terms of humility is I think that her husband did it, A, because he probably didn't, again, I know this may not be historical, but as if it were. If it was, I think that the intention would be, A, didn't think she'd actually do it, and B, there is that sense of humiliation. And I don't know if anybody watches Game of Thrones. I'm not going to go there because I get so irritated when people blow things that happen, because a lot of people now save things and watch it later on. So I'm not going to say. But if you've seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen it yet, I'm not going to give it away, but when you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. There is a situation that is quite similar. And in that situation where somebody is made to be humiliated, but you really are rooting for the person, any person in that situation, to really dig deep into their core self and just to, hold their shoulders back, hold their head up, and just, move forward through. And so I guess I don't get a sense of humility out of this. I get a sense of strength. I get a sense, when you're just thinking about the story itself, this is a woman who was willing to do something that would be quite difficult to do at any time period, and certainly in this time period, and that so that she had so much compassion for the people around her that she was willing to do that, is to me more about strength and compassion and things of that nature than it would be about humility. So that's just, and again, I haven't read the book, so I just know from the keyword I don't particularly agree with that keyword. Then we have Mary. And then we have an image called Mirror, and this is about self-love, because these are ancestral, actual people that have, and the mothering that they give. And so when we give ourselves self-love, when we look in the mirror and we see the best part of ourselves, that we are in a sense mothering ourselves and giving grace to ourselves. So that mirror is in there. And then, let's see, is that the last? No. Then we have Mother Meng, and this is another one I'll have to look up. I don't know, but the word, I think the keyword for this was intention. Excuse me. Then we have, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Pajapati, but it's probably like Pahapati or something along those lines. I should have looked it up. But this is Buddhist, and so we have the Buddha over here meditating, and we have her here. And this, the keyword for this, I think, was patience. But she is the, just because I studied Buddhism for a long time, like she's the stepmother of, I believe this is who they're referencing to. Again, I don't have the guidebook, but she's the stepmother of the Buddha, and she helped to raise him after his mother died. And after he became the Buddha, reached enlightenment, she came to him and asked that she be allowed, as well as other women be allowed, to become nuns or monks, that they'd be able to give themselves to meditation and to becoming a religious into the religious life, and so that's who that is. And the keyword for this is patience, which certainly works. Then we have the Pythia. That's something I'm going to have to look up. It's very familiar sounding to me, but it doesn't trigger any story to my head at the moment. I think the keyword I have, I think maybe that was intuition, which you can certainly kind of see is sort of coming, this bird is sort of coming up on and out of her mind. It's quite beautiful. It's a pretty card. Sappho, I thought that was awesome that it had that, and this, I would have again thought creativity, oh, here, inspiration, which works also. She was a poet. So I thought that was quite, I love that that's in there. So then we have Sarah, which would be from the Bible, and her keyword was faith. Of course, she was barren and was Abraham's wife, and she wanted to have children quite desperately, and she couldn't have them. And there's this whole thing where, they kind of try to circumvent how the God was going to have her have children. It doesn't, kind of backfires on them, and then she ends up having Isaac. So this is about having faith. Then we have the Queen of Sheba, which I thought was wonderful. I think that was wisdom or knowledge. Then we have, I do not want to slaughter this. I don't know if you can see this. Sorhahami, Hatani. So I'm guessing these GHs are not, I have no clue. Hopefully you can see that, or I'll type it below in the thing. I'm not going to say. That's one I'll have to look up. Tolerance was the keyword for that, which I thought was quite interesting. Then we have Queen Victoria. I thought that was interesting for sovereignty. And I think that's the last. Yeah, that's the last of the ancestral mothers. And then this section with the purple is for divine mothers. So then these would be goddesses. And so I'm going to slaughter so many of these. This is Amaterasu. I'm going to have these, most of these goddesses I'm going to have, which I like it. There were some ones that I had not heard of. So I'm going to definitely be doing some looking into them to fill out my own personal guidebook. But that's, the keyword was, I think, inner light for that. And we have Bridget, which I want to say that was peace. Yes, peace. Then we have Demeter, or Demeter, who knows how to pronounce this. Demeter. This is the mother of Persephone. And so I think the keyword for this one was loss, which certainly makes sense. So she is the mother of Persephone, and Persephone was stolen away by Hades and taken into the underworld to be his wife. And she was so upset about it that she curses the land, because she's the goddess of like crops and agriculture and things like that. And so she curses the land, and of course, so then food and things like that can't grow. And so of course she curses the land and things don't grow. And so Zeus gets really worried about that. And so he sort of garners a deal with Hades that Persephone's can come, will stay in the underworld for 4 months, because Persephone's had eaten something from the underworld, so she couldn't be completely freed. Remember what I told you about eating food? Fairies don't eat fairy food, and clearly if you are kidnapped by a god and taken to the underworld, don't eat the food either. Just never eat the food if you're in a perilous supernatural situation. Anyways, so she couldn't be completely free because she'd eaten the food. So he kind of garnered the deal that she would be in the underworld for 4 months, and then she could come up and be in the outer world for 4 months. And so we have sort of that winter time sense that, so when she's in the underworld for 4 months, her mother is mourning her loss greatly, and we have winter time, and then when she comes back up, she's quite happy that her daughter's back, and we have springtime. So, but this is about loss, because we can see, does it look like it's wintry? It certainly doesn't look like abundance. This is obviously during the winter time, so this would stand for loss. Then we have Eostre, E-O-S-T-R-E. That's one I'm going to have to look up it sounds familiar, but it doesn't ring enough of a bell. And this is the keyword for this was celebration. Here's another one that I don't know, but it's quite beautiful. Haumea. I'm kind of thinking this may be perhaps Hawaiian, something along that lines. And this is for nurturing. She's holding a little baby here. It's so sweet. This is a beautiful card. Then we have Isis. Let's see, did I put the... I'm sorry, this is not... I just was so excited. A devotion. Oh, look at her. Then we have Ichel. I don't know. Ixchel. Again, this is one I've heard of, but I don't really know anything about the story. I'm really looking forward to looking these up. And this, I think, was about a midwife. You shall see when I look it up. We have Kali Ma. Kali Ma was for fierce love, which I thought that was really appropriate. Then we have Kuan Yin, of course, and she was for compassion. And I don't know for sure. I don't know if I assumed that or if I found that. But regardless, she should be for compassion. And I do like that we have the world here, and it looks even like it's like she's almost pregnant. Cause I think that you can even see like her belly button. But she's got the world here. I think that's quite stunning because she's the one that hears the cries of the whole world. So I do really like that. And then we have Lakshmi. I don't know. Slaughter these. I don't know if the guidebook gives you pronunciation. That would have been helpful. This was about abundance. That's what the keyword for this was. And then we have Oshun. O-S-H-U-N. Looks like she's kind of standing in water and seeing her reflection almost. That's what it looks to me to be. I'll have to look this one up. The keyword for this was harmony. And then we have, this was the front of the box, which we have Pachamama. Pachamama. I have heard of her before. I think this was about earth honoring. It has something to do with honoring the earth. And I've heard the name of this before, but, oh, there's one missing. Oh, here we go. Here, it fell down. So I knew it ended with this one. So then we have White Buffalo Calf Woman for Native American, and this, the keyword for this was integrity. So I think these are quite beautiful. I am really looking forward to working with them. Again, this isn't a review because I just got these and I don't even have the guidebook. I probably will maybe do a review at some. I intend to do maybe just sort of a update of newer decks that I have down the road, just to kind of say how they work with, how they are to work with. But since I had to order them all so that I could kind of put them in their sections in my own little guidebook that I'm creating, I thought, well, they're together, I would just kind of show them. Plus, I was just excited to find them for 50% off. Again, I have heard that the book is really good, so it's too bad that I'll be missing that, because I'm sure there was quite beautiful resources. But well, for $9, the cards I've seen are beautiful, and I generally, with Oracle cards, I will read through the guidebook, but I don't access their information all that often. Generally, it's once I get a feel for something, I really do go off it intuitively, and I feel like I'm not going to have a problem with that with these cards, because even the keywords that I found, and I was able to find most of them, quite made sense with the images, and were close to what I think I would come up with, except for things that I might need to look up, like Pythia. And again, I know that I should know Pythia. I have that sense of I should know who this is. I want to say she's some kind of a seer, maybe. Maybe I should look it up. Okay, I looked it up because I knew that I should know who it was. Like it's one of those things. Now I have little hairs in my eyeballs. I knew it was somebody that I should know who it was. It was like in my head, like, you know who that is, but it just wasn't triggering. But this is the Oracle of Delphi. So Greek. And so she would have been like a Cirrus, which is what I kind of thought. And you can kind of see that with the imagery. I think it's beautiful. The card is beautiful. And let's see, what did I say? Does that go with the keyword then? Let's look it up. I know, I'm sorry. Intuition. Okay, so that makes sense. I was just curious again about this one because it was just triggering something like, you know who that is, you know who that is, like figure it out. So that's who it is. Oh, I didn't show you the backings. The backings are quite beautiful. It's very subtle. I don't know if you'll be able to see. There are sort of blossoms or leaves, a pattern in it, but it's very subtle. It's a beautiful green, and then there's just very subtle a pattern that's on the back of it. So it's quite beautiful backing. And I again love how how the card is set up, because we do have the majority of the image as I like them. So this has just been kind of a yay, I found a good deal. Look at the cards. There are, I know in the book, I can say, because I did look at a couple reviews, there are some spreads. There was one that somebody explained in a review they did that was a grandmother moon spread that I actually am quite interested in trying out, that has 4 positions with the waning with the waning moon, the new moon, the waxing moon, and the full moon. And I did think that that was quite a beautiful idea to work with sort of moon energy, because it is this very mother feeling to the or female mothering feel to the entire deck, that I thought that would be quite lovely with it. So there were, the book did look, from pictures I've seen here, has full color images and quite a lot of information. So I've heard really good things about the book. I just can't really attest to that because I don't have it. So this has been sort of a look and a hurrah. I got a 50% clearance off of the Mother's Wisdom deck. And again, I will say that this, I think, is kind of marketed as for mothers who have young children or whatever, and I really don't get that sense at all. I can certainly see where it would be wonderful and supportive for mothers, but I don't really get the sense, it just has that all-inclusive mothering feminine energy to it, that you don't have to be a mother. I mean, I am a mother, but I don't really think that you need it in capacity with being a mother. So I hope you enjoyed this look at it. I quite enjoyed getting them, and I will, update you later on down the road how it is working with it, and let you know how it goes.